So I will call to order this January meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. And could we start with the roll call, please, Julie?
I'll mention Kim is on virtually. She is going to keep our
okay.
role virtually. And so Kim, I think you have the ability to unmute yourself and jump in when you need to.
Oh, okay, great.
Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Israel Herrera. Here. And Jim Whitlatch.
Here.
Okay, we do have all four members, and we are going to start today, as we always do, with the consent calendar. So this includes some templates for things that are coming up later in the year, and then some service agreements, and then just the usual business reports and credit card refunds, surplus, that sort of thing. So do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor, a roll call vote, please?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Israel Herrera. Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion is unanimously carried. And then on our Section B, public hearings and appearances, we have a couple of staff introductions today. So first is Sean Klusner. Hi.
Sean Klusner. I was born and raised here in Bloomington. I've spent the last 9 years over at IU working on the IU athletic facilities and was in there when they were doing the renovation of the golf course. Very excited to be here and excited to see what the golf course can become.
Welcome. Okay, and then Greg, is it Goker? Or did I say that wrong?
Greg is not here, but I'll be speaking on behalf of him. He was
Okay.
up at 3 a.m. treating roads, so he was getting all the sports facilities with the city department, so our sports department. So Greg worked here part-time at Twin Lakes in Winslow before coming on full-time. He's from Michigan, and he has 20-plus years experience managing a golf course. He got out of that. He moved to Bloomington with his wife after she got a job here, and kind of fell into this as a part-time employee, and we said, we'd love to have you full-time. And when the job came open at Winslow, he applied and has been a great fit so far. Very excited to have him on board and his expertise. Like I said, over 20 years managing 300 acres, I believe, of this golf course up in Michigan. He certainly knows turf, so we're happy to get him out there with soccer on field 5 and baseball on the junior side and senior side. So he's a great asset. So.
Yeah, sounds like he has a lot of great experience. Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, and then on to our Section C, other business. As it is January, we typically do the election of officers. So I think we are planning to sort of stick with what we have done in 2023, so we need a motion then for me as the president, Ellen as the vice president, Jim as our liaison to the foundation, and Ellen as our representative to the Plan Commission?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want me to make the motion?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll move to elect officers for 2024 as indicated by Kathleen.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote of all those in favor?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey.
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion is unanimously carried. And then we'll get you over to the Plan Commission next year, Jim.
It's going in the minutes.
Yeah, now it's official, that's right. Okay, and then next up in C2 is our,
Kathleen, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt you. You can give this to someone else if you would like, but I think we have to do me as officer, secretary again, too.
Sorry, of course, yes, right. Yes, so yeah.
Yes, well,
Okay.
I'll move to approve Kim Clapp as secretary of the Board of Park Commissioners.
Okay, and I'll second. And all those in favor? For a roll call vote, please?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you, Kim. I'm sorry I didn't see you sitting here and neglected
No
that.
problem.
So next up, we have review of Resolution 24-01 to appoint the Parks and Recreation Director. And it looks like we have one candidate. So do we have a motion to approve Tim Street as the Parks and Recreation Director?
Yes, I'll move that we adopt Resolution 2024-001, confirming the appointment of Tim Street as Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion unanimously carried. Yay. And then with only just a minute there, step right into it. C3, Tim will tell us about the Resolution 24-02 appropriation, the 2024 non-reverting budget.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it as well. That would have been awkward had that not passed for the rest of the meeting, so that's good. Resolution 24-02 appropriates the park's non-reverting budget. This is the budget that is funded not from the general fund taxpayer dollars. This budget was presented by Paula McDevitt, I believe, before she left in October as part of our budget presentation. So you have seen this before. This is just now that we're in the new year officially adopting and appropriating the budget as was presented to you at the end of last year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Tim about this?
All right, I
Yeah,
will
okay.
move that we approve Resolution 24-02, approving for the appropriation in the Parks Non-Reverting Operating Fund for 2024.
Okay. And I'll second. And a roll call vote, please?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Motion is carried. And thank you, Tim. We'll see you later in the meeting. And next up, we're always lucky to have such good candidates for the Environmental Resource Advisory Council, which Rebecca Swift will tell us about.
Yes, hello, Rebecca Swift, National Resources Coordinator. I'm here to recommend the approval of 5 appointments. They're all returning members, which is great and very invaluable to have returning members. Their names are Denise Gardner, Jeff Eman, Bill Jones, Marnie Potter, and Angie Shelton. Hopefully you all had a chance to review their applications. Those are included in the packet. And from the time I submitted this to now, Dave Rollo has been appointed as the council liaison again for ERAC. That might be up to change, but that is again a common council appointed position. Just for background, ERAC is the Environmental Resources Advisory Council and acts as an advisory board for Bloomington Parks and Recreation and all policy matters pertaining to the operations of city natural areas and facilities. And it makes up of 9 members and 1 ex officio member. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, yes, so we have some current members who are willing to repeat with lots of great experience. So any questions for Rebecca? Oh, okay.
Thanks, Rebecca. I'll move to approve the appointments of Denise Gardner, Jeff Eman, Bill Jones, Marnie Potter, and Angie Shelton to the Environmental Resource Advisory Council.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, thanks, Rebecca. Motion is carried. And next up in, let's see, C5 is the contract with Sunset Hill Fence for Butler Gardens. Sarah Mullen will tell us about that.
Hello, I'm Sarah Mullen, Community Event Specialist. I'm here to recommend approval of the contract with Sunset Hill Fence Company for an amount not to exceed $30,000. This contract with Sunset Hill will enhance the Butler Park Community Garden. Basically, will help us reduce our maintenance, which we spend a lot of time patching the fence currently, and reduce some of the wildlife pressure that we've been having with that garden. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, all right, any questions for Sarah? No? Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I'll move to approve the contract with Sunset Hill Fence Company for Butler Gardens.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. Thank you, Sarah. And then, next up, before we know it, it will be time for mowing. Yes, so Sean Marlar will tell us about the renewal of the contract with Green Dragon for Switchyard Park mowing.
Yes, it will be time for mowing soon. Sean Marlar, Recreation Facilities General Manager. Staff would like to recommend for approval an addendum to the 2022 original agreement to extend the scope of that agreement through the end of 2024. This is mutually or financially beneficial for parks. If you recall, last year we did the same thing. The original contract was extended last year, and we are asking to extend it again this year. We can only do this because the vendor has not suggested any change in their price schedule. So we are getting the exact same price we got when they first won the contract originally. That's rare. So I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Okay? Any questions for Sean?
Quick question is, so where, is this the only contractor we use in the Switchyard Park? And do we do the rest of the mowing like in the other parks, or how does, I can't remember how that works.
Mowing contracts, this contract is only for Switchyard Park, and it is the only contract at Switchyard Park.
Okay. All right. Do we do any of our own mowing?
At Switchyard, we do. There are some areas that are small, need to be done by hand mower, or areas that occasionally we have to go in and before a concert, we might touch it up. There's additionally one area that we changed how we handle it. It's an area on the east side of the park. It wasn't part of the original contract with Green Dragon. We decided we wanted to take control of that area and mow it instead of letting it grow wild. So that is a small area. It just takes about an hour for our internal staff to mow.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, we will have 2 other mowing contracts coming before the park board at the start of this year. We have requests for quotes out now. We renew that contract every 3 years for certain contracted locations, and there are other locations that our staff mows as well.
And I think we have pointed out before, too, that often the contracted mowing ends up saving money. Yeah.
There's a lot of costs. It's not just the mowing itself, it's the equipment costs. So it is a substantial savings, time and equipment for the Parks Department.
Okay. All right. So,
How often does the mowing take place? From month to month? Because this
So-
is to the end of 24, right?
It is. This is for, we say it's for a certain number of cycles. We have a range because we don't know the weather. Typically, this contract is executed on a Wednesday morning. They come out with approximately 3 riding mowers and 1 person who does trimming. So for Wednesday morning, they cut the grass in all of those locations, including the dog park, which we closed down for a few hours. And they finish typically before 11 or 12 on Wednesday.
I mean, the next one would be monthly, would be.
I'm sorry, that's done weekly. Are you asking? Yes.
Okay, any other comments or questions? No? Okay.
I will move to approve the contract renewal with Green Dragon for Switchyard Park mowing.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, all right, motion is carried. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
And next, Leslie Brenson will tell us about, in C7, the contract with ZEC 8 for Farmers Market Master Plan.
Thank you, Leslie Brenson, Recreation Services General Manager. I'm here today to recommend a contract with ZEC 8 Insights for an evaluation of the Bloomington Community Farmers Market. The contract is not to exceed $20,000 and will be paid out of the Farmers Market General Fund account in our consulting line. Parks and Recreation put out a request for proposals in December to find a firm to handle the 2024 evaluation. We received 6 proposals and used a scoring system with 4 evaluators to determine an overall score, and we have chosen the one that had the highest overall score as well as the lowest expected price level. ZEC 8 Insights proposal includes benchmarking of our market with other city-run markets, determining best practices based on research and communication with other markets, collecting community input and vendor input, and then determining the economic impact of the market. They are to produce a final report with suggested steps forward, and the process hopes to begin in February with staff conversations with a final report to be completed in September. This is the 50th year of the farmers market, and so it seemed like a good time to just reevaluate and create a master plan, if you will, of the market and get some good insights and data that we can use to move the market forward. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, yeah, thank you for noting, that it is the occasion of the 50th. And I think the benchmarking is good in that that is something that vendors have sometimes brought to us. Well, why did they do it this way in Madison, Wisconsin, or Columbus, or whatever. So that will be interesting information to get.
And it's data that the staff just doesn't have time or access to complete, and so to have someone who is experienced and has access to that information and be able to put it in a report that we can use and then take steps forward, I think will be really beneficial for us, as well as the community and vendor input, which again, we don't always have access to collect. And I think that we're looking forward to that information.
Advisory Council, the Farmers Market Advisory Council, did they have any discussion about this, or were they part of the selection process or anything?
They were not part of the selection process, but they have had we have had conversations with them at the last several meetings about this, that we're doing this, and this is what the proposal outlined. And then one of their members will sit in on our internal committee with the consultant, so that they'll be a representative on the advisory council in all of the meetings with the consultant.
How does the final report play into timeline when we're looking at next fall and we're having these conversations about price schedules and contracts and all of those kinds of things? Will that all align pretty well?
Yes, so we've asked for a final report in September. The price schedule for the first round comes to you in October, so we should be able to have that report. And then as we look into 2025, updating all of our forms, if we have that info in September, it still gives us a couple of months before something would be due to, so we kind of intentionally timed it in that regard, as opposed to going all the way through the market season in November. We cut it off so that we would have a report, because you get the heart of the data in June, July, August, when the market is the busiest.
And we'll be prepared for a long meeting in October. Isn't that budget too? Don't we do that then too?
Well, maybe we'll have it ready to give to you in September. We'll see. I'll have the consultant come and let you know. And we'll obviously be able to keep you guys updated on the process throughout too as well.
Okay, any other questions for Leslie? No, okay.
I'll move that we approve a contract with ZEC 8 for Farmers Market Master Planning.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. Thank you, Leslie. And then next up in C8, Joanna Sparks will tell us about the contract with Ecologic for vegetation management.
Good afternoon. Joanna Sparks, Urban Green Space Manager, here today once again to talk to you about native plants and invasive plant management. I'm here to recommend approval of a contract with EcoLogic for vegetation management services at Miller Showers Park, Switchyard Park, and Wapahani Mountain Bike Park, not to exceed a maximum amount of $53,011.05. This contract includes extensive invasive management control at Switchyard Park, in particular, just because it's we're making huge progress. This is year 4 of pretty intense in ongoing invasive management, and the invasives are changing. So we are making great headway, and we did successfully complete our 3-year period of wetland monitoring for our new daylighted stream and wetland basin areas. So this contract will actually include that additional acreage. So we will keep on with invasive management in there, and things are going very well. It's very exciting to see that wetland area shape up over the last couple of years. The Miller Showers project is an ongoing, it'll be the 6th year of the 10-year vegetation management plan. And that's another location we're making tremendous progress with our prairie plantings there. And we're also doing a little additional work trying to tidy up the edges, working on curb appeal, kind of smoothing out, and doing some tree protection. We're going to pull the mowers away from some of the trees stop mowing around them so that hopefully they have a little better survival rate. If we can, reduce soil compaction and mechanical damage. And the final contract is for the Wapahani Mountain Bike Park, the basin where the dam was removed. And I didn't manage that project, so I can't speak well to that. That was a CBU project at Weimer Lake removal, but the basin is pretty icky with invasives due to all the disturbance, and this will just be an ongoing invasive management there because we are still not making great progress with it. So I'm happy to answer any more questions, but that is the big picture.
Thank you. Any questions for Joanna about this vegetation management? Nope. Okay.
We're good. Thanks, Joanna. I'll move to approve the contract with EcoLogic for vegetation management.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you. And then in C9, we have review of an encroachment agreement for 229 West First Street, and Tim Street will tell us about that.
Yes, good afternoon again. Departments. I have a few items in a row here. The first is that staff recommend approval of an encroachment agreement with Brownfields LLC for an encroachment onto city-owned property. This is at the Beeline Trail and First Street on the southeast corner of that intersection, the old Sinclair Oil site, which has plans to be potentially redeveloped into a restaurant. I'm not sure what kind or if that is even determined yet. Developers approached us about an encroachment of a sidewalk to attach to the Beeline to increase access. This is our standard agreement that we use for this, all up and down the Beeline, and everything looked good to us, so we will bring it to you for approval.
Reviewed the proposal for this in Plan Commission, and everyone was really excited about the opportunity to redevelop that site into a new restaurant space. The developers were talking about wanting to bring in like a brewery or just create a really great space there along the Beeline. So sounds like a neat project.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Tim?
All right, I move that we approve the encroachment agreement for 229 West First.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. And then Tim will stay with us for a couple more items, including the MOU with City Utilities for Miller Showers Park dredging.
That's correct. We are recommending approval of a memorandum of understanding with CBU for their dredging project at Miller Showers Park. We have a pre-existing MOU with CBU that regulates how we take care of Miller Showers Park. That Parks is responsible for most of the terrestrial features, and the City of Bloomington Utilities is responsible for the actual stormwater detention. This is a project they've been planning for 2-3 years, I believe, and have been looking at. The ponds are slowly filling up with sediment, which is somewhat what they're supposed to do, and they need to be dredged. So because of the impacts of coming in and out, the equipment required to dredge, some of the storage area where they allow the water to run back off into the stormwater detention, we created this memorandum of understanding to outline responsibilities between the two departments for this dredging project, which I believe will be happening in the coming months.
Is this the first time it's been dredged since it was installed, more or less?
I'm not 100% on that, but I believe so.
And when they dredge it, it seems like there's a lot of aquatic plants in there. Will it destroy all those aquatic plants, and that's part of what we need to replant, or how's that work? Do you know?
In part, there are some aquatic plants in there that we like, that are good and native, that we want to be in there, and there are others that are less desirable and invasive. In general, I believe, and this is getting past my scope a little bit, but I believe it was designed to not have plants in the first place because of the depth. And as it sediments in, it becomes more of a habitat for that. So I'm not saying this with great certainty, but obviously, yes, there could be an effect on the aquatic plants. It could remove some of them. It could maybe spur some invasives to come back. And were that to be the case, we would work with CBU on some of the invasive aquatic plant treatment that we already do there, that Joanna coordinates on mostly a yearly basis.
So the idea when it was originally built may have been that it's deep enough that it won't have plants in it, but as it filled up, it started.
And I'm not positive that I'm saying that exactly the correct way, but certainly as the plants and the sediment goes in, it decreases the ability for it, of the amount of water that it can retain in a storm event. So by design, they want to go back in and remove some of that organic material.
Thank you.
Okay, and I know from time to time, people comment that they think Miller Showers Park is ugly. Although Dave Askins visited my class yesterday at Bloomington South, and he said it was the best park. So I just mentioned that to say maybe a little explanation for people of why those big changes needed to take place over there, the drainage issues, and yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can give a little recap of what needed to happen to...
The history of how it became what it is now?
Right.
Sure, that predates me by a bit, but I think I have an okay understanding of it, and that is that there was a lot of stormwater that catches a really big basin area for the north side of Bloomington, from the stadiums to 11th Street, and then west over, I think, as far as past the bowling alley and some of the area over there on 17th Street. So there's a lot of stormwater that when it hits those impermeable surfaces on the north side of town, all ends up running through Miller Showers Park. So previously there was an unimproved creek bed there that was very incised, that had a lot of erosion issues and didn't catch or slow down a lot of that water, which would then flow down into Lower Cascades Park and contribute certainly to some of the issues we've seen there over the years with the eroded walls, the collapsed Works Progress Administration walls, things like that. So I know in the 2000s there was even some federal funding available, I think, to work on stormwater detention, and CBU and Parks partnered to create what that is now, both for the stormwater detention, which is increasingly important for climate change purposes, as well as we experience more extreme rainfall events, and then the nativization around it, which was just a mowed field with not a lot of ecological value to the community. And as Joanna mentioned, there's been a property management plan there to continue to restore to those native plants. And ultimately, beauty is in the eye of the beholder on maybe what people are going to perceive from some of that. But there's a lot of benefits to the community and to wildlife through all of those changes that have been made.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, more intense rain is supposed to be the number one climate change aspect that we experience here, so. Okay. Any other questions for Tim about the dredging at Miller Showers Park?
I actually like Miller Showers.
Oh, well, good, okay. You're not the one who told me it was ugly.
Although I do wonder, how do they decide when the waterfall runs? Do you know?
There's a switch.
I have to check with Mark.
All right, that's
on
no,
that one.
just out of curiosity.
Well, I had heard a comment too of like that there used to be a playground maybe in that area. Is that right? Yeah, further, yeah. But I also, my comment was that I don't know scientifically the demographics of that specific area, but there are, like, it's not a safe, that's not really a safe place necessarily to have a lot of like running around, and you know those streets are pretty fast moving along there, so just another comment there. But I'll move to approve the contract, or I'm sorry, the MOU with CBU for the dredging.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, that motion is carried. And then Tim will also present C11, which is the contract with BRCJ for Building Trades Park surveying.
Yes, thank you. We recommend approval of a contract with Bledsoe, Riggert, Coupert, and James for an updated site survey of Building Trades Park. I believe the board is aware we've been undergoing some master plan process for the park, and in our 2024 budget, through ARPA funds, we have received some funding for a first round of improvements on that master plan, focusing on accessibility improvement as the first priority for what we want to address in there, particularly some of the paths that move north-south through the park. We want to do this in light of, one, just the neighborhood involvement for the park, two, the Hopewell development coming in across the street, and three, we want to integrate with future Second Street improvements in a protected bike lane that are being coordinated by the engineering department. In order to get to a point where we could have construction documents ready and contracted by the end of this year, we needed to update our site survey, and BRCJ already had a partial site survey, so we're able to just build off of that.
Okay. All right, any questions for Tim about this one?
So, Tim, right now, when you mention on accessibility, means that right now we don't have good access to the park.
I would not say we have good access through the park. We have access. There is a wooden ramp that was built some years ago on the east side of the park, right on the border of the park, that sort of runs up the tree line there. That is somewhat compliant and somewhat not compliant with the ADA. It needs some better landings and rest areas for full compliance. So we would remove that boardwalk, which is also deteriorating, in favor of building in some of these more comprehensively reviewed through the master plan walk improvements.
And regarding the partial survey, so we are going to complete the survey, or it's going to be applied for a full survey?
Correct. So we had a need to survey a part of the park a few years ago, and BRCJ did that, and now they can go through and complete the full survey of the park. So we have that important data for construction planning purposes.
So how different will be? We will have two surveys, right?
We do need to survey it in order to do that, yes.
That partial one that wasn't completed was about.
It was like a 1/8 of the park for a specific project that was being done, but it's still valid, so we can still use that data and just build on that to complete the survey.
Yeah, it looks like there's a map that shows like the part that was surveyed before in the packet.
And there has already been feedback being gathered from people in the area and neighbors and?
Yes, so we've had 2 really great public meetings on this topic. Both, one was in, I believe, September or October, and the other was in December, with rounds of maps and things like that from Mater Design. We have just closed our feedback period on the second round that was presented and are going to gather feedback both internally and from the board before moving forward with Mater Design working on a final plan.
Not really about the surveying, but I would just mention, because we're getting ready to talk about the so-called monolith sign again. And I know some people felt like in the last couple of months that they weren't aware that the sign was coming. So I'm just saying, and this is not our project, but protected bike lanes potentially coming to Second Street. Changes in the Second Street traffic pattern if people are interested in that and want to comment on that, and okay, all right, great.
Yes.
Okay. So if we don't have any other questions, I think we can probably do a vote on this one.
Yeah, I'll recommend approval for the contract with BRCJ for surveying at Building Trades Park.
Second?
Okay, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. And then finally, under C, other business, speaking of the entryway sign, Tim will tell us about the contract addendum with REA.
Yes, so we are recommending approval tonight of an addendum with Rondell Ernstberger Associates for further modification of the Gateway project design and preparation of construction documents at Miller Showers Park. This is a contract in the amount of $42,300, and the funding source is the same bicentennial bond series that we have been using all along with this project. Obviously, this is a project I've been up in front of you several times on over the last year. We've gone through some change. We've engaged some additional public feedback after a large amount of feedback was received when the plan was announced earlier last year. What we've done to get to this point where we are today is following that initial feedback, we revised back to a horizontal concept from earlier in the design. That is what was released to the public in either late November or early December, right around that time frame. And we gathered feedback on that through the end of last year. We received a lot of great feedback again in reviewing that. A few key themes emerged. One of which we really wanted to act on was that we sort of heard a constant question or ask for the inclusion of public art, a public art piece, a public art installation in this. So working with REA, we've talked with them that this addendum will basically take the concept that has been presented to the public in December, the horizontal limestone lettering, modify that concept to include a platform space, enough space, electric needs, whatever we determine with the Bloomington Arts Commission and the city's assistant director for the arts, to put out a public call for an art installation. That public call will be managed by the Bloomington Arts Commission. They will design, solicit, and select the art to go along with this. We don't have an updated rendering at this point for this because we're just now amending the contract with REA to include doing this. And I will mention that in addition, we hope that REA will amend the construction documents so that we can work with Reed & Sons, we are contracted with, to have them complete the site improvements already planned and contracted, which includes some of the road and pedestrian improvements, the replacement of trees, the native landscaping, some of those items that will be modified appropriately to fit the footprint of this new gateway element. And that, additionally, as we work with REA this winter and early this spring, we will come up with a request for quotes or bids on the production and installation of the actual limestone wall piece. So basically the remaining phases would be broken down into 3. There'd be Reed & Sons completing the site improvements, the installation of the stone and Bloomington lettering elements, and then the public art installation through the Bloomington Arts Commission.
Okay. All right, and I would just note, I was sort of rereading here, there were I believe, more than 200 public comments, yeah. And certainly some people do like the limestone better and feel like it's a better fit and it's local. I mean, no one's ever going to be happy with all of it. Some people still kind of questioning the need for a sign at all. So, yeah, so, but this is an interesting proposal. Any other questions, comments for Tim?
Can you say, so they're going to create a new space then for the public art piece. And what's the timeline, I guess, for the Arts Council? Like, when will they start sourcing proposals and those kinds of things? Do you know?
I don't have a firm timeline on that yet, and we put a release out, but I want to leave some of those details to the BAC to be able to release when we make some final determinations. We need to start by working with REA for a month or two to make sure we modify this design to include the space. We'll work with the BAC and the arts director for Bloomington to make sure we have the dimensions incorporated that they can then take into their call for proposals and move forward with from there.
And like we did that similar with the project at Rogers Family Park. The Arts Council solicited the proposals.
Yeah, Bloomington
for
Arts
that.
Commission put together a team of reviewers who put the call for proposals out, set the criteria, judged and selected the piece at Rogers Family Park, very similar to what will happen here.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about this contract addendum? No, I'd just say thank you to all the people who commented. I mean, there's some really extensive comments here about the materials and the plants and all sorts of things. So,
Absolutely.
all right, do we have a motion? Yeah.
Whether you want to take that now or do a public comment.
Yeah, we can go ahead and do the public, if people, I saw a limestone shirt a minute ago, so I think there might be some. Yeah, if we can do public comment now on this particular item, if anyone wants to come up, and we usually give people 3 minutes. You want to come up and tell us your name, or 2 minutes, sorry. Okay. Yes, come on up. Just, yeah, if you can tell us your name, and there's usually a sign in there, and.
Thanks. Amy Breyer, local limestone artist. Since I was called out for my shirt, I just want to say thank you to the people who took the public comments and revised the design. So, and I look forward to this call for public art. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on this item C12? Or online. Or, yeah.
If there's anyone on Zoom who wants to make a public comment, you can raise your hand and we can ask to unmute you.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right, well, we'll have another little short public comment asked for here at the very end, just in case there's anyone still out there, so. So do we have a motion to approve? Did we approve? Did we take them? No, we didn't. So C12, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, thanks for contributing to the conversation, Amy, appreciate that. I'll move to approve this addendum with REA for a bicentennial gateway design.
Second.
All right, and a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Ellen Rodkey,
Aye.
Israel Herrera, Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
All right, motion is unanimously carried. Thank you, Tim. And then finally, in our Section D reports, Haskell will tell us about the 2023 Tree Commission report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Haskell Smith, Urban Forester, here to talk about the Tree Commission instead of just trees. Thank you. The Tree Commission, we met 12 times over the course of 2023. We accomplished several different things. A revamp of approved and prohibited species lists for the Unified Development Ordinance, a total reconstruction of the 5th edition of the Tree Care Manual, as well as providing consultation and guidance on several planning and engineering projects. And here with me today is a member, Neil Tong, our interim chair, and I'll let him speak a little bit.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Neil Tong. I'm the interim chair for the Tree Commission. I just want to put a face to the name of the Tree Commission. We meet either on the second or the third Monday of every month, usually at a park shelter or at the park office. And in terms of composition, we have 7 members. We have 1 liaison from IU, Mia, and we have 1 liaison from the Environmental Commission. His name is David. And meeting has always been quite organized. Our previous chair, Mary, keeps us quite organized, and typically we finish within an hour. I'm here to let you know what a typical meeting is like. So we usually have the urban forester to come and give his report, and then right after that, we ask a question or we ask for clarification, and right after that, the IU person, the landscape architect from IU, gives us any debrief, and that's when we ask more questions. And then later on, we have the environmental commissioner, our liaison from the Environmental Commission gives his report. And it's typically the Environmental Commission has their meeting a week before us. So we usually have a lot of things to talk about right after that. And then after that, we have the old business that we discuss. And if there's anything that we need to discuss further, it becomes the new business for the next meeting. I'm relatively new in my appointment. I've only been here since May. The highlights of my time as a Tree Commission member has been, as Haskell mentioned, the 5th edition of the Tree Care Manual. We added 2 sections into it, one into the tree preservation part and another one in the tree removal. And we helped the urban forester to make considerable revisions to the permitted and the prohibited trees. Also, we help the urban forester in a bunch of outreach events. There's always the information booth at the urban forestry event on a Saturday for the Bloomington Farmers Market. At the same time, we also had a briefing for the workshop attendees and the IDNR Tree Stewards Conference in the Indiana Memorial Union last November. And finally, we also have a member in the Tree Commission to provide public commentary to an IDNR community and forestry grant with a potential worth of about $200,000. And we are holding our breath, waiting for the result. Should be coming soon. And I look forward to help the urban forester to the best of our abilities for the upcoming year. And I thank you all for your time and for your instruction and for your support. Thank you. And I'm here to field any questions too, if necessary.
All right. Thank you, Neil, for that description. Any questions?
I was just curious, do you have any open seats you have 2 open seats? Okay, yeah, so that'd be great for members of the public to know, especially I know there's a really big spread in Bloom magazine about the state of trees in Bloomington and just sort of some of the concerns that we have facing that. So tell your friends, participate in the tree council.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, and then finally, we'll just have one last opportunity if there's anyone else online or in person who wants to make a public comment before we turn it back to Tim and adjourn. No?
If there is anyone online who wants to make a comment, you can raise your hand. We'll give it just a second.
No?
I think we're
Okay.
good.
All right, and we'll turn back to you, Tim. You can tell us what's upcoming then.
Sure. Well, first of all, it is my great privilege to be appointed director, so thank you very much for the support. We have such an amazing park system that is so important to the fabric of our community, and an even better staff that is just doing you wouldn't even believe the variety of work that our staff does on a day-to-day basis. It's really incredible. So it is a great honor to have that. So thank you. Just mention a couple things coming up. The Winter Fitness Series is going on at Switchyard Park Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights. Good opportunity to meet people even when it's cold and be in the pavilion and get some fitness in. It sounds like those have been going really well. And right now we also have our Winter Wander program going on Outer Spatial, which if you are not familiar, Outer Spatial is an app you can use to access all kinds of public GIS trail information about parks, including some of the programs currently going on. So if you download that and you find Bloomington Parks on there, there's a program that will take you to different trails in Bloomington, and you can even earn a prize from our health and wellness department, I believe. Shelby's over there. So other than that, I have not received any other emails or comments tonight to be shared. So our next meeting will be the regularly scheduled meeting, the third Tuesday of February.
All right, great. Thank you, and thank you to Kim for helping us run the meeting virtually. And with that, I'll adjourn the January meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners.